The window that shook the neighborhood. 18 months ago, I, Robert Callahan, took a leap of faith and bought an entire apartment building in the heart of Maplewood, a cozy suburb in Ohio. It was a 6-unit gem, weathered but full of character, sitting in a neighborhood known for its tree-lined streets and friendly block parties. I wasn't some hotshot real estate tycoon, just a guy in his 50s with a knack for fixing things and a dream of turning this rundown property into something special. I moved into Unit 4, rolled up my sleeves, and got to work. My plan: restore the building's old-world charm while making it energy efficient. Little did I know, one small window would spark a neighborhood showdown that would change everything. The trouble started with a man I'll call Gary Thompson, the self-appointed guardian of Maplewood's standards. Gary wasn't the president of our neighborhood association, oh no. He was just a board member with a clipboard, a measuring tape, and an ego the size of Lake Erie. The association, mind you, only had authority over shared spaces like the park gazebo or the welcome sign. My building? Private property, completely outside their reach. But Gary didn't see it that way. He strutted around, citing fake violations and harassing residents over nonsense like unapproved mailboxes or slightly off-shade shutters. My tenants warned me about him, chuckling nervously. I brushed it off, thinking, I own this place. He's got no power over me. Famous last words. It all kicked off when I replaced the drafty, single-pane window in my unit with a sleek, triple-pane model. It matched the building's aesthetic perfectly and slashed my energy bills. The window faced a side alley, barely visible unless you were snooping. 3 days later, a notice appeared on my front door, printed on official-looking letterhead with violation screaming in red ink. It claimed I'd made unauthorized exterior alterations and demanded I restore the original window within a week or face daily fines. The notice was addressed to current occupant, Unit 4. Gary didn't even know I owned the building. I laughed, assuming it was a prank, but something told me this wasn't going away. I spotted Gary on his daily patrol, clipboard in hand, wearing a polo with the association's logo like some wannabe sheriff. I approached him, keeping my tone light. Hey, Gary, got your notice about my window. Can we clear this up? He sized me up, squinting. You the tenant in Unit 4? I nodded, dodging the ownership reveal for now. That window's non-compliant, he barked, citing some obscure rule about architectural harmony. I asked politely for the bylaws proving his authority over my building. He scoffed. I've been on this board for 7 years. I know the rules. All exterior changes need our approval. HOA 101. I pointed out that my building wasn't part of the association. His face turned beet red. Every property in Maplewood answers to us, he snapped. I pressed for documentation, but he doubled down, threatening $50 daily fines and a lien on my property. Reasoning was pointless. I walked away, promising to look into it, but Gary wasn't done. Over the next week, he escalated like a man possessed. New notices appeared daily, each with higher fines. He photographed my window from the sidewalk, even trespassing in my parking lot to measure it. He cornered my tenants, including sweet Mrs. Larson, a 70-year-old widow, asking if they were concerned about my reckless modifications. One tenant said he tried to get them to sign a petition against me. The gall. 10 days in, a certified letter arrived, labeled Final Warning. It threatened legal action and forced remediation, hiring contractors to rip out my window and bill me for it. I couldn't believe the audacity. This guy had zero authority, yet he was acting like he owned my building. I figured he'd fizzle out when I didn't budge. Wrong again. That Saturday, as I trimmed hedges, a police cruiser rolled up. Gary stood on the sidewalk, smirking, clipboard in hand. He'd called the cops over a window. Officer Daniel stepped out, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Before I could speak, Gary launched into a tirade. Officer, this man's violating community standards with an illegal window. I've issued multiple notices, but he's defiant. I'm worried about the building's structural safety. Daniels turned to me. You live here, sir? I nodded. Unit 4. Gary jumped in. He's ignoring our covenants. I took a deep breath. Officer, there's a misunderstanding. Gary thinks his association controls my building. It doesn't. Also, I own the entire property. Silence. Daniels raised an eyebrow. You own the whole building? I confirmed, mentioning my LLC and offering documentation. Gary's smug grin vanished. His face cycled through shock, denial, then panic. But the rules still apply, he stammered. Daniel shut him down. If he owns the property and it's not in your HOA, you've got no say over his windows. This isn't a police matter. Gary sputtered about fines, but Daniels was firm. Those fines aren't enforceable. Stop harassing him, or he could file a complaint. With that, Daniels left. Gary slunk away, deflated. I thought that was the end, but Gary was relentless. 3 days later, a letter from the association's architectural committee arrived, doubling down that all neighborhood properties fell under their rules. Enough was enough. I called my attorney, Susan Wright, a real estate shark. She drafted a cease and desist letter, crystal clear. My building was never in the HOA. Their fines were void, and further harassment would mean a lawsuit. We sent it to Gary, the board, and the association's office, demanding a retraction of all notices. Within 48 hours, the association's president, Linda Harper, emailed an apology. She admitted my building was exempt and revealed Gary wasn't even a senior board member, just a busybody who'd invented his compliance officer role. Other residents had complained about him, but the board let him run wild because he handled grunt work. I could have stopped there, but I wanted accountability. I attended the next association meeting at the community library, armed with evidence, violation notices, threatening letters, and photos of Gary trespassing. 20 residents attended, including Gary, who avoided my gaze. During the open forum, I laid out the saga, emphasizing I wasn't out to stir trouble, but to protect others from similar harassment. I showed my proof and said, there's a difference between community standards and bullying people over things you don't control. This could expose the association to lawsuits. To my surprise, others spoke up. A woman shared how Gary demanded she remove her backyard garden. A man recounted being hounded over his door's color, unchanged for decades. The room buzzed with shared frustration. Linda, visibly uneasy, promised the board would act. A week later, a formal letter arrived, apologizing, confirming my property's exemption, and announcing Gary's removal from the board for repeated overreach. Word spread that other residents threatened legal action, and Gary was forced to resign. Rumor has it he's moving, muttering about finding a better neighborhood. I kept renovating. That window stayed, joined by matching ones across the building. I repainted the exterior, added flower beds, and made the place shine. Last month, the association gave my building their Property Improvement Award, a plaque, and a gift card. I hung the plaque by the entrance, next to a sign reading, "Proudly Owner Maintained." Gary avoids me now, crossing the street when I'm near. My building's the talk of Maplewood, and I've got peace of mind knowing I stood my ground. This wasn't just about a window, it was about fighting petty tyranny. One person's stand can ripple, freeing others from unjust control. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you faced someone abusing power in your community? How do you handle injustice or bullying? Share your stance. Let's get the conversation going.